All right, are we ready to start, everybody? All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for public meeting for ANC 4D. Thank you for joining us on this cold, unseasonably chilly, rainy June evening. My name is Anthony Parati. I'm the commissioner for 4D08 and will be chairing tonight's meeting. And so let's get started. Secretary George, why don't you start us off with a roll call?
Great. Commissioner, if Commissioner present, just say present. Commissioner Pinckney. Commissioner Judson.
Present.
Commissioner Lucarelli.
Present.
Commissioner Corniatis.
Present.
Commissioner Morancic.
Present.
I, Commissioner George, am present. Commissioner Weigel
Present.
and Commissioner Parati.
Present. And we have a quorum, so we can get down to business tonight. First item is to approve the agenda. The agenda was circulated by Secretary George last week. Are there any updates or edits or changes to the agenda as it was circulated?
I had two items on the agenda that were tentative city official comments that I think we're not having appear on fireworks or block parties. Am I right? Those are the only two changes that I am aware of. Unless others are, I will move to adopt the agenda as described with those two as city official comments removed.
Are there any other changes or edits or emendations? No? All right. Without objection, agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Next up, we have the minutes from the May meeting. Secretary George, anything that we should know about the minutes?
Nope. The draft minutes are up on our website. There are no changes from what has been previously put up. I move to adopt them as drafted.
Are there any changes, edits, emendations from any of the commissioners? Any edits or emendations or corrections from the general public? Without objection, the minutes are moved into the record. Next up, we have a treasurer's report. Treasurer Corniotis, tell us how we're doing.
Good evening. Our treasury stands at a balance of $8,944.42. We're awaiting a quarterly allotment to be distributed to our account in the next few weeks or so. And Commissioner Pinckney and I are assessing, reviewing our grant process overall, and we aim to open the grant process to applicants in September of this year.
Thank you, Treasurer Corniotis. Are there questions from any of the commissioners for the treasurer?
Actually, Commissioner Corniatis, could you repeat our balance? I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's fine, Commissioner George. It stands at $8,944.42.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Are there any questions for the treasurer from the general public? Hearing none, we will move on. Thank you, Treasurer Corniotis. Next up, we have comments from various city officials. First up, we have a representative from the mayor's office, Mr. Derek Johnson. Mr. Johnson, are you here this evening?
I just saw him join.
We'll give him a moment.
Yeah, I see that Derek is on.
I see him. Mr. Johnson, are you there? Let's give him a moment to catch up and we can come back to him. So we'll next go to a representative from our council member's office, Ms. Barbara Rogers. Ms. Rogers, the next 10 minutes are yours.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't think I'll need 10 minutes, but good evening. This is your last meeting, correct? For you break for the summer?
We are
No, we have a
scheduled.
July meeting. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I was just gonna say, we're scheduled to meet in July, but not in August.
Yeah, the
Oh,
only
you do
meeting
meet in
we,
July.
yes, the only meeting we don't have in the calendar year is August.
Okay, thank you for letting me know that. So I will see you all next month. I was gonna say, enjoy your 2-month break, but I will see you all next month. For those of you who don't know, I am Barbara Rogers, Community Engagement Director for Councilmember Janice Lewis George. And we do have just a couple of updates. The first one is next week, we will be having a Ward 4 Summer Safety Strategic Planning Meeting. The council member did something similar to this last year. We know that public safety is on everyone's mind and is a big concern to most residents. So on Thursday, June 28th at 6:30, we will have this meeting. It will be at Barnard Elementary School. The address is 430 Decatur, but the Decatur Street entrance will be closed. So you enter on 4th and Crittenden Street northwest. So this meeting will focus on planning specific actions to address crime and gun violence during the summer, which we all know is a time when crime increases. And it will be to discuss opportunities for neighbors to engage. I am happy to put the link in the chat. You can RSVP to attend. We do have some confirmations, like Commander Harrell will be there, along with other public safety agency directors will be there as well. So we hope that you all will attend. You should have gotten an email from me, I think, yesterday. So I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about the council budget process update. Last week, the council finalized the DC budget for next year, and we are so proud to have worked with the community to secure strong investments for Ward 4. Some of the wins that we got, the budget includes funding to acquire land and to build a new public library on Kennedy Street. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. This is a huge step forward for bringing a new public library to our community. And we definitely want to thank everyone who advocated, especially our ANCs, 4D commissioners, for your incredible work on this. Some of the other wins will be modernization at Truesdale Elementary starting next year, funding for a new One's Leadership Academy at McFarland Middle School to provide positive mentorship and support for youth, renovating Barnard Elementary School by 2026, a new playground, and $50,000 for traffic safety upgrades at Barnard. A new water fountain at new water fountains at Roosevelt High School, 30% more funding for Uptown Main Street to support small businesses. And we will have modernization at Upshur Recreation Center and Pool starting in 2024, and Emory Heights Community Center starting in 2025. Also funding for the Georgia Avenue project to improve bus speeds and traffic safety along Georgia Avenue from Berry Place all the way up to Eastern Avenue. Also in the budget was funding for emergency rental assistance, which faced an 80% cut. has fully been restored to 43 million. We restored funding for victim services, legal aid that helps prevent eviction and residents who are denied benefits, and housing vouchers to prevent homelessness. We were able to keep money in the budget to prevent budget cuts for all of our DC public schools. Also, along with Councilmember Allen, we were also able to restore 58 million in funding to implement the Safe Route to School Act, which will make traffic safety a priority around DC public schools. So again, we want to thank all the ANC commissioners and neighbors that testified at these hearings, emailed the council, and advocated for this strong budget. You definitely made a difference. Rent control protection was also something that Councilmember Lewis George has been fighting for, to prevent the massive 9% rent hike on DC tenants in rent control housing. 2 weeks ago, the council voted on an amendment that Councilmember Lewis George put forth that would limit rent increase in these buildings to 6% this year and 12% over 2 years to prevent families from being displaced. There was also a rent limit on seniors and tenants with disability to 4% this year and 8% over the 2 years. Ward 4 care days. These are community meetings that we have in every neighborhood in the ward. We actually just had to cancel our pet work day, which would have been tomorrow due to the weather, but we will have our Brightwood Park Ward 4 Care Day will take place on Thursday, August 10th, 4 to 7 at Larry Allen Memorial Park. So we hope you all will come out and join us. But care days, you don't have to join our care days, of course. You can have your own care days in your community by hosting a cleanup, submitting a 311 request, planning a block party, which we a few weeks ago did actually a Zoom call on how to plan a block party. And if you do plan a block party in your neighborhood, please invite us out. And finally, there is a WMATA fair discount for residents with SNAP. So please help spread the word that there's a new fair discount program for DC, Maryland, and Virginia residents who receive SNAP benefits. If you are enrolled in the SNAP, you can apply online and get 50% off of all of your Metro bus and rail fares. And finally, if you're not on our newsletter, please join our newsletter at www.ward4news.com. That's what I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. If I can ask you a quick question, the public safety meeting next week, will that
Yes.
be only in person, or will there be a hybrid option for people who are not able to join in person?
We are working to see if we can get it to be hybrid. If not, then it'll just be an in-person meeting. I can follow up with you on that.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Rogers?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Ms. Rogers. I also just wanted to note that it's not apparent to me if folks, whether on the panel or in public, can raise their hands. So we may have to sort of triage this. But at any rate, I did want Ms. Barber to clarify how much funding was allocated in the budget that you were referencing for the bus project from Barry to Eastern, just so that folks are aware of that.
I don't think I have, let me see. I don't think I had an amount. Sorry, let me get back to where.
You can just drop it in the chat whenever you're ready. I think I'm familiar with
Okay,
the amount, but I thought it would be beneficial for folks on the call to hear.
to know how much. Okay,
Yep.
I'll drop it in the chat.
Specifically because of who we have speaking tonight. But anyways, I appreciate your time and thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you.
I see a question from Commissioner Corniotis.
Good evening, Ms. Rogers. It's always a pleasure when you join
Hey,
us.
Commissioner.
Good evening. I have a question about the public safety meeting as well. I know that the uptick, there's an ambulance passing by, so I'm going on mute for a quick second. Okay. I know that within my single member district of 4D04, there has been a significant, what I consider, and I think what all of our commissioners consider, a significant uptick in gun violence within the last 2 to 3 months. And I know that a few of my constituents have reached out to Councilmember Louis George's office, and one of them was pointed to or suggested to subscribe to Councilmember Louis George's newsletter, but I think that it wasn't that was the answer to the constituent's concern, but I know that the constituent may have misunderstood, basically what Councilmember Louis George's plans are when it comes to this uptick in crime. I know that we as commissioners are very flexible and willing to meet with the commissioner online to come up with some sort of strategic plan. But what, from your understanding, what does Councilmember Louis George have in mind that it will potentially propose at next week's meeting?
Well, I think the commissioner, the point of this meeting will be to hear from those who can make a difference in public safety. The council member talks weekly with Commander Harald, but I think it's important that we hear from them to see what is their strategy for our ward over the summer. And more importantly is to hear from residents, to hear from commissioners, to hear, what's going on in your neighborhood, and to get a response from those that can make a difference, to hear from them to say, what is your strategy for whatever the, affected area are. I think we all have maybe areas in our neighborhood that we want a little bit more police attention. So this will be a 2-hour meeting that will allow residents to voice their concerns and hopefully get some, good responses from those that are in power and that have the ability to make, a difference and to make our streets safer this summer. Hello?
Hello, this is Commissioner Morensic, 4D05. I just want to say I appreciate you coming out with fellow council staff to the area neighboring my and including my commission. Last week, we did a safety walk and knocked on doors to talk with constituents. And, we heard a lot of alarming things about gun violence on the New Hampshire Avenue and Farragut corridor. And so I just appreciate you coming out to that, but I'm looking forward to seeing some concrete follow-up with that. And definitely looking forward to seeing what the mayor's office and what the police department can say about what we talked about. So thank you for coming out. I appreciate that. And I look forward to continue working with the council member's office.
Sure, and I will say that you will get an email, I think probably tomorrow. We did have this discussion today with a council member, and so we are coming up with a strategy. She's emailing those, Commander Harrell for them to come back and say, what are you gonna do? Because there was definitely not sufficient follow-up for the incidents that happened there in the past. So Jim Lewis is constructing an email now. You should probably get it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions from any of the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I had one more question for Ms. Rogers. This is Commissioner Lucrelli.
Please.
Ms. Rogers, thank you for coming here again and letting us know about this meeting, this dialogue that's going to take place on the 28th.
29th. Did I say 28th?
That's what I wrote.
I'm sorry. It's actually Thursday, the 29th.
That's what I wrote down, but I'm a notoriously sloppy handwriter. So so anyway, I appreciate it because I think that, the situation is beyond ripe for this to take place. I mean, the other night I had to literally hit the deck because the gunfire was so close to my damn window. So anyway,
Oh, wow.
I'm not upset at you, but I just wanted to know because, we can only reach a limited audience vis-a-vis Zoom. So how are you letting the community know about this meeting? Because I know that there are folks in our district 43 that would love to attend, but may not be on the call perhaps. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, we will be lit dropping up until Thursday. Of course, we'll have it on all of our social medias. We sent it, it'll be in our newsletter that will come out on Friday, but we will have flyers printed tomorrow. So you'll probably see flyers everywhere. But yeah, and we have like areas in which that we have received public safety complaints. We are definitely going to target those areas for lit dropping the flyer this week.
Okay. Well, if I may, I would encourage you to do it along 7th in between Longfellow and Kennedy, because, as of late, folks have been congregating in that alley, and that's exactly where the gunfire that was so close to my window started from the other night. And there's been other incidences, and I get messages. You may even be on the group chat that I'm on, but yeah, it's becoming concerning again.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And that's 7th Street between Longfellow and Kennedy, you said?
Yeah, so it'd be on the north side of the 7th, sorry. Yeah, it'd be on the east side of the 7th Street right of way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rogers, we have a question from Commissioner Corniota. She's not able to unmute herself, but she wrote her question in the chat, which is regarding the care days. She wants to know how and when to highlight the houses that she would like, that she's hoping Commissioner Lewis would go visit. What's the best way to do that?
Yes. So what I do is a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks prior to the event, I will, of course, email the commissioners with that information. All you need to do is reply and just say that, you want to be able to walk with the council member. And yeah, she's available. She walks for about an hour and a half. It's 2 hours long. And so she walks about an hour and a half with whatever commissioners want to walk with her.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the general public for Ms. Rogers? Ms. Gooding-Jones.
Jones. Okay. Yes, I I have 2 questions. The gentleman was talking about 7th and Kennedy. I noticed lately that the police presence is no longer there.
Yep.
They were parked by Yums They were on the opposite side and they were in that alley that's across the street from Tony's. It hasn't been there in a while. When I come home from work, I used to see them and they're no longer there. I'm just trying to understand why the police presence was pulled. Also, I live on 6th and Jefferson, and we've had a number of car break-ins. And if there's no police presence around the corner and there's none on our streets, what is being done about that? And one other thing is, they moved everybody out of this little area at 5th and Kennedy. Do you know what the plan is for that area where my grandchildren call it the corner store, but where that corner store and the other places were? Do you know what plans Council Member Louis George is having for that area?
Okay, I have made a note that there's no police presence anymore at 7th and Kennedy, because I know that there is normally always a car there. And you said 6th and Jefferson Street car break-ins.
Yes.
We will email Commander Harrod those questions. And as far as 5th and Kennedy, I know that it is always been the council members' goal is to continue to get businesses there, to draw people back to that, corridor. We have the new restaurant there at 5th and Kennedy. But as far as that storefront, I am not sure. I hope you can make it to our public safety meeting and you can direct that question directly to hers.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Mhm.
Question from Ms. Gonzalez.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for giving information about the public safety meeting. I just wanted to make a suggestion actually for outreach. I've moved here in 2020 and there was two shootings last week in my alley and in front of my building within 5 days. So I'm terrified. But so I was suggesting that you can do outreach in this neighborhood too. I'm on 3rd Street in New Hampshire, very close to Barnard. And so maybe some of my neighbors can come. And also there's a lot of Spanish speakers in this area too. I don't know if you guys are gonna have language access, but we're very worried. We're very worried here. I moved 2 years ago and I've never felt so unsafe.
Okay, and that's 3rd in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Okay.
We're in between Delafield and Decatur, and our building is right behind. Our back of our building faces New Hampshire, and there's an alley there that also, there was a shooting there right outside my bedroom.
Oh, okay.
And thank you though for informing. We'll come to the meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll come to that
Sure.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, and once again, thank you all for your service. I just want to join on to the concerns about the spike of crimes in our neighborhood. I've been in Ward 4, I guess, for 28 years. I'm right at the corner of 5th and Hamilton, but most recently, Ms. Rogers, on the 600 block of Hamilton Street, there was a home that had been tagged with the graffiti with the MS-13. Thanks to Mr. Weigel, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, we were able to follow up with the owner and it was removed. But lo and behold, about 3 weeks later, just last week, they came right back out, whomever that is. And unfortunately, this time they had profanity and it literally said F-U-N-I-G-G-E-R. And so we're concerned. And hopefully that your office will be able to respond in such a manner with maybe more police presence. I'm not sure cameras there, but it's an alley that is quite trafficked between Hamilton and Ingraham Street. But the home is right out in the corner of Hamilton Street, the 600 block. It's a big white wall. And that's our concern because we know that anytime you allow these things to happen, that's like a okay to other kinds of issues that we're trying to avoid and prevent so we can all feel safe and secure in our environment. So any assistance from your office as well as the ANCs, once again, some of my other neighbors are on this call this evening because this is one of our concerns and we want to be able to address it as soon as possible and effectively. So once again, thank you so much and looking forward to the
Okay,
meeting.
thank you, Mr. Palmer. Can I just confirm it's the 600 block of Hamilton Street?
That is correct. And the
Okay,
alley is between Hamilton and Ingraham.
Hamilton and Ingraham. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Rogers?
Oh, lastly, if I could just add one other thing, Ms. Rogers, less than a month ago in that same area, one of our neighbors' car was shot. There was a shooting through there. So that should be a matter of record with 4D. They shot his vehicle up as well. So we see
Okay, and if you want to have your neighbor to give me a call, there is a new program that will pay residents when there's property damage.
Okay.
So if you want to have that neighbor to give me a call, I'm happy to put them in touch with the agency that could hopefully provide them some financial relief.
Do you mind providing your phone number now or at another
I
time?
don't. It is
Oh.
202
Mm-hmm.
288 9820.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We appreciate your presence here tonight.
Thank you all.
And we will go back to Mr. Johnson from the mayor's office. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can indeed, sir.
Yes, thank you. Apologies, I had some technical difficulties as I'm on my tablet and my phone as opposed to my laptop. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. And I just have a few brief updates from the mayor's office, and then I welcome any and all questions that you all may have. I want to start by just noting that Mayor Bowser invites residents to celebrate the topping out of the Cedar Hill Regional Medical Center at St. Elizabeth's campus. And Mayor Bowser's really excited that this opportunity has flourished in the way that it did, because this is one of the promises that she made before her first year, before she even won. She made promises to bring a hospital back to Ward 8. And so this will be a good moment to celebrate for all healthcare workers, all people who are thinking about equity in healthcare and balancing the scales there. So she welcomes all residents to join her on June 22nd at 11 a.m. at St. Elizabeth's campus, which is 1200 Pecan Street Southeast. And then likewise, the mayor today launched the recreational and education resources for youth. Mayor Bowser and district officials were joined by community members to mark the end of the school year and launch into the summer. The program involved DPR and their stump rockets and their boost programs that they have, boost camps that they have this year. I had the pleasure of actually being on site for that event, and it was just a wonderful time. The children, like the director said, the children are learning, and in learning, they're having fun and they don't even realize they're learning. So right as school is ending tomorrow, this set of DPR programs and summer camps kick off. And so the mayor wanted to highlight that starting June 26th, that also the summer, starting June 26th, also the mayor's program for the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program also kicks off. And that's an opportunity for 4,000 youth at over 700 sites to earn money over the summer, but also give them something to do. I know there's big concern about crime and cars getting taken, and engagement is a top priority for the mayor. And so this is one of the ways that she's engaging with our youth, is getting them employed, getting them out into the community and working for the district, and seeing what a great asset and benefit it is to going to work and then also giving back to your community. So that program kicks off beginning on Monday. And then lastly, I just want to note that last week we had the ribbon cutting for Sycamore and Oak, and that's also on the St. Elizabeth's East campus. But it's a great new facility, 22,000 square feet of retail spaces, but also spaces for housing, and 13 local businesses overall. And so we welcome all our Ward 4 residents to attend and show up. There's a restaurant by Jose Andres group there as well. And so it's just a beautiful space, and more opportunity for neighbors in our area to find opportunities in different parts of the ward that they don't usually go and get to. I would also just mention that DC is hiring, and so we would love anybody who's looking for opportunities to spread the word about career opportunities here in the district government. And so I'll stop there and take any questions. I appreciate, once again, the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. First, we'll take questions from commissioners. It looks like a question from Commissioner Corniotis. You just muted yourself, Commissioner.
Thank you. Sorry, it's this muting, unmuting thing. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, per usual, for your attendance. That's my godson in the background. I'm in Massachusetts, but in terms of the public safety walk that Commissioners Weigel, Morensic, and I attended early on in our term, is there an after action report that's been made public with any follow-up actions? I know that during last month's meeting, I think that wasn't the case, but has that decision been reversed at this point? And then my second question is, if council, as council member Louis George is having this public safety meeting next Thursday, would you or the mayor be able to attend?
So the first answer is yes. I mean, the answer to your second question is yes. I am already planning to attend. I work very closely with the council member's office, and I love Miss Rogers, and she's been very helpful in my journey in the last few months being in the mayor's office. So I definitely will be there. And I don't know if the mayor herself will attend. However, I look forward to taking back any notes. And that said, I did not get a determination that a reversal has been made as to the decision not to make a public the March 8th public safety walk that the mayor did have in the Petworth area. I don't know if that is a stronghold decision or if they just haven't had a call or made the call as of yet. I do know that my partner and I, Sophia Picola, were on the walk and led the mayor on that walk. And there were, after report that we did internally as MOKers, and we had to submit certain things back to our director. And some of those things were like the 311 requests that were made, some of the conversations that happened with Aziz at the 7-Eleven. And there were a lot of neighborhood concerns in terms of during the walk. So we had follow up with direct individuals around the Honeymoon Chicken area where there's businesses. We followed up. So we did follow up, but it's nothing that we had a public report on. So that's the latest that I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'll be following up with you offline there as well.
And I
Question-
just want to say thank you for your support in Lorenzo Allen Park and getting us an ambassador to change the doggy bag. So I appreciate your support there.
Well, actually, that leads to another question. I'm sorry. I know that the Friends of Lorenzo Allen Park are very active and protective of the park, as they should be. And what we've noticed of late is that the space has been, used or utilized for graduation parties, but the graduation decorations are not removed afterwards. And there's been fireworks, I guess, on one occasion within the last week. Who would I reach out to from either the mayor's office, or do I go directly to
So
DPR?
I think it could be a concern that we raise with DPR, but also one that we raise with Clean City as well. And so I've noted the concern. What I will do is follow up with Clean City and get their input, and it may be a DPR thing. So what I'll do is follow up with you offline, if that works.
That works. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for the question.
Question from Commissioner Marensik.
Yes, hello, Mr. Johnson. I just want to piggyback onto the safety walk that we did in March. I know, the mayor specifically called out how filthy the area is and tasked DPW with helping with that issue. And I walk the area every day and it's still just a mess. So I'd love to have some feedback on that. You can contact me privately, but it's still a mess. And of course, like that attracts different kind of things, and rats are a problem. And so that is a major issue in the area.
Yes. So actually, I think on the initial weeks right after DPW did do a follow-up, because I went on a walk with them and we did a good clean of that area. The problem is, and it's just a high traffic area, so it's a quick overturn. Not to say that we should not continually do it. So what I want to do is definitely be in contact with you about it, and see maybe if we can get host another walk where we can invite commissioners out to while we have the whole DPW team out, because they brought out a good bit of infrastructure and trucks, and they had maybe a good 20 to 25 staff out there cleaning, doing graffiti removal. But this was right, I would say right at the 30-day mark in April. Around April 8th is when we had that walk. And so, as you mentioned, it's filthy again, meaning that it does need our care and attention. And as we try to develop, I heard our neighbors say, what about certain corridors? As we try to develop that corridor more for economic activity, it's important that we stay vigilant on, those smaller issues like the debris, dirt, and all of the rats issues. So I definitely would be in contact with you about even getting, a team out. I know my core team walks with like DBH and DOB and DPR, DPW, all of those agencies, and we meet once a month to do a walk in the neighborhood. It may be that I can ask you all to join at our next meeting, which is, I think, next week. I can send you all the data around, but also if there's specific areas that you want us to target while we walk, if you aren't able to come, I can definitely be sure to put those areas on our map so that we have site visits to those spots, those hot spots, and note the issues that you're raising here so that each of the teams see it in real time.
Thank you.
Questions from the general public? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for coming tonight. We appreciate your presence as
I'm,
always.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to get my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
that's
it's
okay.
my fault. I hit the smiley face.
Oh, well, please go ahead.
Mr. Johnson, I have a huge concern. My husband and I are grandparents who are raising 3 young kids since my daughter has passed, but my grandson is signed up for his first summer job. He's 14. The problem is he has still not gotten his assignment. They start work on Monday. I called today and they're saying they're sending them out this weekend. How do parents adjust when we don't even know where our children are going to be working? If the mayor could do something, because, you know, these kids have been waiting to get their job assignments, and not just him. And you want these kids to be off the street, but if you're not doing the process correct and they get frustrated, then what do we do?
Well, first, I thank you for that. I would say hold off on the frustration. I do know that it is an issue. You're anxious. It's exciting time, and you're thinking you may have been left behind. I wanted to rest assured that that's not what's going on. I think that there has just been a backlog, and so rightfully so that there is note for the concern. But I do know that it's something that folks are paying more attention to. And so if I could actually, I'll put my information into the chat, but if you want to email me or call me directly, and I can follow up with your grandson's case as early as tomorrow to see what we can do about getting his email out, I can definitely do that.
Yes, if you could, I'm not a chat person. If you could just give it to me, I have a pen
Oh,
in
sure,
hand.
sure. My number is 202 603
Okay,
7182.
okay,
And my email address is Derek, DEREK .Johnson at
okay,
dc.gov.
great. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. And thank you for the question. And I look forward to hearing from you later today or tomorrow.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem. Oh, Commissioner, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you again for coming tonight. Next up, we have a representative from DDOT. We have Mr. Zach Gambetti talking about the Georgia Avenue bus corridor. Mr. Gambetti.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I want to make sure I can get on camera here so you can see me. There we go. Okay. Thank you for having me. I do have a quick presentation to walk through, if that's okay. I know I was out, I think I came in March to talk about this project with you, but there's been some updates to the scope, so I just wanted to make sure that I came out to you all and kind of gave you the updates and was kind of available to answer any questions that you all may have. Looks like I'm not able to share my screen.
Commissioner Lucarelli, are you able to enable Mr. Gambetti to share his screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah, Zach, I'm just going to temporarily make you the host.
Okay. Okay. I won't do anything crazy, I promise.
Okay, well, we have you on record. Yeah, if you, oh, no, hold on. Yeah, and if you could just change it back when you're done.
Oh, okay.
Well, hold on. Okay, try it
It
now.
doesn't work.
Try
Okay.
it now.
I was just
Try it now.
oh yeah, there we go. Perfect.
All right, bada bing.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, good. It's up. Perfect. So thank you again for having me. As I mentioned, I was out here a couple months ago giving an update or kind of kicking off the project. But since that time, the scope has expanded a little bit. So I wanted to make sure it came out to talk to you all. There's a larger presentation. I'm only going to walk through a couple of slides here, just because you all have seen this already or a version of this. And it's online if folks are interested in kind of the larger presentation. But you know, essentially, about a year ago, we kicked off planning for Georgia Avenue bus priority, improving bus speeds and reliability on Georgia Avenue. from Berry Place down by Howard University up to Kansas Avenue. And then earlier this year, we started kicking off the next section from Kansas up to Missouri. And so that's when we kind of looped you all in based on your location along the corridor. But as we were kind of working on these two separate sections, we realized we got a third section coming. And typically we like to work on smaller kind of 1.5 to 2 mile segments of corridors at a time. It allows us to kind of move them through our process more quickly and more efficiently. But in the case of Georgia Avenue, it was really, there was kind of like a lot of thought put into how we approach Georgia Avenue. And it was decided that we should really look at Georgia Avenue at a corridor wide level for planning, design, and implementation of this bus priority project, so that we can, more efficiently kind of look at the corridor, or more efficiently implement along the corridor, but then also do more comprehensive outreach along the length of the corridor when we're talking about, increasing bus reliability, increasing access to the buses, and increasing safety along the corridor. So that's kind of like the big change since last time. No other kind of elements have changed. Georgia Avenue is still our most, our busiest corridor. That's why it's kind of rising to the top here. Route 70 is the busiest bus line in the district, or in the whole, actually, WMATA Metro bus system. The buses move very slow, especially at certain portions of the corridor during certain portions of the day. Can see speeds on those buses of less than 5 miles an hour. So we're talking about the busiest buses moving very slowly along the corridor. And then I think we're all very familiar with how dangerous Georgia Avenue is. And there's been multiple pedestrian fatalities and injuries within the bounds of this project. And so we're really, kind of using this base information to set the project goals of increasing the bus reliability, but also improving safety along the corridor as we make these bus improvements. So for those of you who participated in, either of the previous efforts that I talked about, the Berry to Kansas or Kansas to Missouri pieces, your comments are not going away. We're not throwing everything out. Those are kind of being rolled into this expanded project. So, whatever comments, if you have given them to us, they're not disappearing. That effort and time and energy is not being lost. It's just kind of being rolled into this and looked at more comprehensively. So that is kind of, one of the considerations that will help guide this project moving forward, in addition to all of the new public input that we expect to receive as part of this process that we're kind of, asking folks to give us at this point in time. We will take a look at kind of a needs assessment, both in terms of like bus delays and priority, but also safety, look for hotspots and things like that. We are guided by our bus priority plan and Move DC, and then there's best practices both from kind of our work in the district, as well as kind of other folks across the country who have done similar work. So all of these pieces will kind of fit together as we all move forward with this project and move it forward into, actually like getting something on paper and actually proposing an improvement that you all can react to and help guide us into implementation. So kind of resetting the timeline for you all, this looked a little bit different probably the last time I came out, but we're kind of like still in that kickoff phase where we're letting you all know about the project, or at least the expanded scope of the project, and collecting that public feedback. We'll use that public feedback over the summer to start creating a concept or multiple concepts. This is a long corridor. It doesn't all need to look the same. That we'll bring back out to you then in the fall for review, for feedback, for input, and then we'll work on refining that, and we can refine that and work with you all on that kind of through the fall, even into the winter as we get into 2024. But about, this time in next year, we want to start moving the project over to our engineers and the design team, so they can actually start, putting the engineering documents together and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll begin, we expect to begin kind of implementation of the bus priority improvements in 2025. So I guess one thing that I did kind of skip over, just since you all have kind of heard some of this already, is that, there's a toolbox of treatments that we can use based on the specific delays that we're seeing on a corridor, based on the specific, setup of a corridor. We have bus priority projects all across the city in all 8 wards. None of these streets are the same. None of them have the same combination of delay and width and lanes, and every corridor is a little bit unique. But we have this toolkit of options that we can start selecting from based on what you all tell us your experiences are on the corridor every day, based on what we're seeing from the data, and based on how, what delays we're seeing from the buses, specific delays, and things like that. So just kind of wanted to share that piece with you too. So, but the big thing that we're doing right now is starting to collect that feedback. What do you experience on Georgia Avenue every day? What works really well that shouldn't change? What really needs to change and be looked at and prioritized as part of this project to help make the buses move better, but also just improve safety overall along this corridor? I mean, those are kind of like the two big questions. The feedback form here will kind of guide you through that, but if you're interested in kind of just sending us a one-off email, or if you don't want to deal with email or surveys, you can also call this number and leave a voicemail and kind of let us know some of those major concerns, opportunities, what you see along the corridor every day that works well or that needs to change immediately. Those are kind of the big questions that we're looking for at this point in time, that will help kind of guide us as we move this project forward. And we can put all these links in the chat as well. This presentation is also online. But with that, I'll kind of stop and let folks ask any questions or any follow-up questions. If you have follow-up questions from the last time I was out here, more than happy to answer.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a question. Well, actually,
Please, Commissioner.
probably two. Yeah, Zach, thank you for the presentation. So I have a couple questions. Is federal funding something that DDOT is pursuing? And I'm asking this because I'm thinking of a BRT project that's kind of close to here. I got my MERP degree at VCU, and as I'm sure you know, Richmond's GRTC Pulse was a low budget center line running for the majority of the length. BRT project along Broad Street that connects Willow Lawn to Rockets Landing, and it was built cheap. It's center running, so there's an experience getting on the platform. It functions a lot like a light rail. Is that something that's being pursued here? Because without that component and without a strong and rigorous curbside management plan on the city's part, right? If there's no way to manage the curb, then we're going to end up like the 8th Street trolley, and we don't want to see that again. Is that something that's being prioritized? Because without that component, I don't want to say it's lipstick on a pig, but it would almost be like the bike lanes on 14th Street. They're so good at the intersections, and then you get out of it and it's such a disappointment, you want to pull your hair out. So with that, I yield back. And again, I appreciate your time and coming and speak to us. Thanks.
Sure, yeah. I will, like the first question that you asked, if we're pursuing federal funding, I will say one thing that kind of wasn't mentioned in the presentation was that this program, the Bus Priority Program, is doing 51 projects over the next several years. The program is funded for planning, design, and implementation already. So kind of what we're talking about today and the concepts that we're talking about in construction is not is not contingent on getting additional funding. The program is funded and this project is funded, so this won't be a plan that then sits on a shelf. So we do have kind of a level of funding to implement this project. In terms of kind of the rest of your comments, those are noted. I will mention that my colleague David is sitting next to me. He's also on the call. He's taking notes while I kind of am here answering questions from you all. So that is noted, and it is something, the curbside management piece is something that we're very aware of from some of our other projects. As I mentioned, if I can go back quickly, that's, some of what kind of comes in is, best practices or whatever from our past experience here in the district of projects and curbside management and things like that. So I appreciate those comments. They are being noted, and it is something that we'll work with you all on as we continue moving forward.
Got it. And, just to end on this note, be bold. I mean, there's so many of the businesses along Georgia Avenue, because the district that I represent, Georgia Avenue runs down the center line on the western boundary. So many of the businesses are frequented on foot. So, you're always going to push back from folks about parking, but in my experience as a city planner, very few businesses are surviving off of the 4 or 5 spaces that are, 7 or 10 spaces that are on the block. It's the foot traffic in dense areas like this. And so when I say be bold, don't be afraid to take away parking and, to prioritize that bus, because the bus with 50, 60 people should have the utmost priority, as opposed, to the driver coming from wherever that's solely occupied. It's a matter of geometry. They're taking up a lot of space to move one person, whereas the bus is doing the opposite. And so, be bold. I understand the constraints. I would hope that there's options that prioritize the bus to the greatest degree possible, because I ride it every morning, and it can be a doozy, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's just a policy choice. But I've spoken too much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marincek.
I will say exactly the same thing as my colleague, just a little bit more bluntly. A centerline bus path would be phenomenal on Georgia Avenue. I think it would work, and I think, right, just be bold, and shoring up pedestrian safety on the corridor. I walk back and forth. I run there every day. I take my daughter, my son, my dog. It can be dangerous. So prioritizing the efficiency of public transportation and also public safety is really important. So make it happen.
Commissioner
Okay,
George.
thanks.
Yeah, I would echo the comments from Commissioners Marincek and Lucarelli. I know there's been discussion about whether a center running bus lane on Georgia Avenue could be feasible, and I really hope DDOT takes a serious look at it. Walking up and down Georgia Avenue is just kind of a unpleasant, harrowing experience right now. Not even talking about crossing the street, but it's not like a lovely walkable place to explore your neighborhood. It feels like an artery that you want to get off as soon as possible to get to somewhere that's like less hectic and a little more quiet and pleasant. And it would be great if this project could fix some of that and make Georgia Avenue a great place to spend time and hang out. And one other point I wanted to make that I think I also made last time you were here is that I hope you all, in designing the Georgia Avenue improvements of the new corridor, will give serious consideration to interim safety improvements that can be made to Georgia Avenue, even as the actual final project may take several years, to the extent that there are, you can start implementing safety improvements with like paint and flex posts that will eventually be more permanent, or if all of the concepts that you all come up with have some shared features that you think are certain to be a part of the improvements. It would be great if the community could start to see some of those safety improvements and investments happen without necessarily having to wait for the full design of the project.
Okay.
Other questions from the general public? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Gambetti Mendez, for joining us this evening. I appreciate your presence.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me again. I appreciate it. I'll put these links all in the chat as well.
Thank you. Next up, we've got community comments. So any comments from anyone in the community? We ask that you limit your comments to about 2 minutes each, if possible, so that we can ensure that everyone has a chance to speak. But we will open this up for any general questions or comments. And if you're able to use the raise hand function, I will call on you. And if you can't use the raise hand function, just wave your hands around, I guess, or just jump in and I'll try and spot you. All right. Hearing no questions or comments from the community. Mr. Weaver, I see you there.
I just had 2 quick announcements. Hi, Brian Weaver from Petworth Main Street, and I work with Uptown Main Street. Two quick announcements. One, due to weather, the movie night that was going to take place on Friday on Kennedy Street has been postponed to June 30th. So it's still going to be over at the Jenkins parking lot on June 30th. And the second one, of course, is on Saturday. The Petworth Jazz Project is taking place again. So down at the Petworth Recreation Center, free jazz, a couple DJs, and so generally sort of good time. Bring a lawn chair out. There's going to be some food deals on the Upchurch side of things. So hopefully I'll see you guys on the 30th at the new movie launch, and then maybe I'll see some of you on Saturday down at Petworth Jazz.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the general public? Hearing none, we will move on to committee updates. First committee is Public Safety with Commissioners Judson and Weigel. You're muted, sir.
This is Pinckney. I'm here.
Yeah, okay, now can everybody hear me?
Now we can hear you, and
Oh,
welcome.
the
by the
video
way.
one, I was like, you can see me, why can't you hear me? What's going on? I just put in the chat for everybody to access a link to a Microsoft form for you to sign up for our Public Safety Subcommittee. We're still looking to attract residents within 4D to be like the voice, you know, the mind and kind of like the creative thinkers that can help with actionable steps following up on things like, you know, Commissioner Louis George's upcoming public safety meeting, responding to individual incidents, you know, being there for our neighbors, helping them collect compensation if needed for damaged properties, et cetera, like whatever is needed, and just kind of being available to not just be, you know, somebody in a uniform, to be your neighbor there to help and trying to mitigate this and just trying to bond together and make more connections. I know that everybody is a little anxious with school ending tomorrow, and then actually, yeah, tomorrow for students and Friday for teachers, but you know, there is a lot of free time for students. I was super happy to hear about the SYEP Summer Youth Engagement Program. I'm sure that one family will get their assignment super quick for their 14-year-old son. I work on the kind of like big global end of that. It really does help. Those students are making $16 an hour or more at their job sites. So this is really, it's not like a, you know, internship, like pat on the back kind of thing. Like they can make a legitimate little nice savings. And so there really is a positive, safe choice for them to make instead of raising hell out on the streets all summer. If there's anyone who has any specific questions or wants to chat with me offline, I can share my contact information in the chat here. Sorry, I was reading some quick messages. My email is a lot like the SMDMN. It's just 4007@anc.dc.gov. And I'll put my phone number in the chat, which is 202-599-1916. And I'm available by call and text anytime for your needs. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop there though.
Thank you, sir. Any updates from the Transportation Committee with Commissioners Lucarelli and Marensik?
Hey, Chair, thank you for acknowledging the committee. Yeah, I would say we're in a similar boat as Commissioner Weigel and Pinckney. You know, we're still looking, Weigel and Judson, sorry, we're still looking for folks that are interested in public safety from a public realm perspective. I have a couple ideas that I finally put, you know, pen to paper. I'm going to send those over to my other commissioner on the committee, Mr. Marensik, and get his thoughts. I'm going to see if we can get those up online so that it's something that's visual for folks to look at. But you know, if you're interested in making streets, you know, better places for people, then, you know, reach out to us because it's something we're still eager to get a head start on. And again, I have a couple ideas that I'm going to throw out there, and hopefully that you know, piques some interest. You know, we also have money coming again, as I've mentioned, for the renovation of the Triangle Reservation on 9th Street, you know, bounded by 9th, Jefferson and Illinois, right in front of the Capitol Bike Share Station at Truesdale. And so, you know, that would be another opportunity to weigh in and, influence the design of that public space that's been rendered pretty underutilized over the last few years. So again, another opportunity to make the neighborhood and its public spaces more welcoming and useful for the people that live here and visit. So thanks, and I'll drop our info in the chat.
And I would just add that we're working on a resolution that would encourage the mayor's office to use traffic enforcement fundings for public safety improvements around schools especially. So that's something that we're working on as well.
Thank you both. Updates from the Public Facilities Committee with Commissioners Pinckney and Judson.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioner.
We, Commissioner Judson and myself, we held a meeting in reference to the library and where we are. It was more of a brainstorming opportunity for us. All commissioners in Ward 4 were invited. We had commissioners from the SMDs that are closest to us, which included 4B. Well, it includes 4B, 4A, 4. I missed something, I think. C. There are several different neighborhoods that could benefit from a library at 5th and Kennedy, just as we would who live here on Kennedy. And the library would be in 4D02, that's Commissioner Hudson's SMD, but it benefits everyone. So our next meeting is scheduled for.
I think it's the 19th, Commissioner Pinckney.
Is it the 19th? I was about to say the 20th. Oh, for July 19th or 20th.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. It is the 20th.
Yeah, for July 20th. And several of us walked away with tasks to do. And the whole point of us starting now is so that we can start with the end in mind and to facilitate actions toward getting the whole idea of the library built up and in the forefront of the community's mind. We're asking everyone who would like to sign on as a friend of the Kennedy Street Library to do so. We will soon have a presence on the web where you can sign up and become one of the supporters. You do not have to live in 4D or even in Ward 4 to support. And we welcome you. And each one of us will bring someone along with us in July so that, you know, as we move, we can expand and hopefully cover everybody who would be interested or benefit from such a beautiful building. Yes, okay.
No, that was great. I was just going to say, yeah, I think we really just want to be proactive versus reactive in planning this library and want to make sure that all voices are heard and that, yeah, basically a plan isn't presented to us as a community. And instead, as Commissioner Pinckney shared, you know, we think bold and innovatively about what would be a good fit for this community. So we welcome more ideas and welcome you to our next meeting as we work to plot and plan this new library for the community. Thank you.
Thanks to you both, and let me acknowledge publicly gratitude for how hard the two of you have worked in organizing the community and making this come to fruition here within our ANC. So thank you both for that. Next up, we have the Committee for Environment and Public Health, Commissioner Corniotis and Weigel. Any updates?
So I actually went to a resident's home last week, Ms. Traps, who lives on Emerson, and she's dealing with a neighbor who hasn't really kept his home up, like the grass, etc. And she said that she would be willing to be a block captain of sorts for not only for DO4, but for this committee specifically. And I plan, or we plan, to hopefully hold our first subcommittee meeting in July, but it has not been scheduled as of yet.
Great, thank you.
I'll just chime in that on, like, personally, I've just been on a 311 crusade in our neighborhood. It is an incredibly effective tool. You can set up your own account on your phone. When you first go to like select a service, there's a very limited amount of options. When you select all services or you search, the search has been my best friend, because I'll like search rats or trash or like, whatever, like
Or abandoned vehicles. Yeah.
like all the things that are like kind of compounding issues for us, right? It makes the whole area just that much worse. And it really has been effective. Like the timeline might say 30 days, and I've seen changes happen in like 5-6 days. It's really, really good tool to use. Can't say enough about it. And I'd recommend, like, if you make a 311 request and you feel like it's not honored fast enough, feel free to share it with me or your commissioner, and we can make those in your behalf, like from our ANC email accounts. I don't know if that carries greater weight, but it really has been making a difference. All kinds of just random trash and large trees trimmed. I'm just really impressed with it in general.
Yeah,
right?
actually, to piggyback off of that, Mr. Johnson does his community walks. I don't want to speak for you, Mr. Johnson, but I joined him on one of them, and since then I've been on a 311 crusade as well, and was able to get 2 cars towed in less than a week. So
Thank you to you both.
Yeah, so any residents who are in attendance tonight, feel free to pass up your concerns, or reach out if you're not sure if it's a concern that can be met by 311's needs. We can help you navigate that.
Thank you both. Next up, we have commissioners' announcements. I'll start us off. Just a quick announcement about our next meeting, which is scheduled for July 19th. The next executive planning meeting is scheduled for July 5th. Just so you all know, the executive planning meeting is basically a meeting of the commissioners where we just set the agenda for the 19th. It is a public meeting, so that you are welcome to attend, but just so you're aware, we actually don't vote on anything official at that meeting. But the next public meeting will be July 19th. Also, for everyone's awareness, we're hoping to transition back to in-person meetings after the summer recess. So starting in September, we're going to experiment with holding meetings, hybrid meetings at Latin Charter School, which is located at 2nd and Ingraham Street. So those meetings will be open to the public. We're working on creating a hybrid option for people who are not able to be there in person. We still have a lot of logistical and technical issues to sort of work through, but we just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that transition to a hybrid meeting after the summer recess. Other announcements from other commissioners? Commissioner George.
One announcement I have, ANC, some commissioners in ANC 4C and me and some residents in the area have been discussing and working for a little while on ways to improve the traffic pattern at the intersection of 8th Street, Allison Street, and Kansas Avenue. If you've been through that intersection, you know it's a challenging one for safety because of how large it is, the hill, and the fact that 5 different roads kind of feed into it, so there are many entry points. ANC 4C, I believe, recently voted on a letter which I signed, but I think we'll consider further at our meeting next month, pushing DDOT for safety improvements at this intersection, and specifically calling for them to consider placing a new median down the center of Kansas Avenue that would prevent through traffic on 8th Street or Allison Street onto 8th Street. So basically those those streets would have to turn right onto Kansas Avenue from whichever direction they're coming in, rather than being able to cut through. As well as considering raised crosswalks and a pedestrian refuge island and more bump outs in that intersection to slow things down and make it a little bit easier and safer for pedestrians to cross. I'm sure Commissioners Marincek and Lucarelli would be happy to hear other opinions about what should be done at that intersection from members of the community. You can feel free to reach out to any of us, and I'll put my email in the chat as well. This is kind of an early step in hopefully settling on a community plan to push DDOT on with a unified voice. And so we would love to make sure folks are aware and bought in and have had an opportunity to chime in.
Thank you. Commissioner Corniotis.
Hello, I just have a couple of things to say. I know that Mr. Campbell from HR Records doesn't live in our 4D, but his business is there, and I just want to commend him and Uptown for the HR Music Festival over the weekend. It was very well facilitated, and a lot of residents enjoyed it. So I just wanted to make a shout out on that. And I believe that Commissioners Pickney and I are in the process of drafting a couple resolutions around collateral damage that can sometimes happen when there's so-called improvements made in the neighborhood that affects neighbors, as I said, sort of in a collateral way. And thus that will be hopefully up for review prior to our next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Pinckney.
Yes, good evening. Yes, very excited about the resolutions that we plan to move forward. I would like to say to you all as a commission and to a general public, I just want to announce a wonderful opportunity that's coming up. The gas station at the corner, what is that, Missouri?
That's right, Missouri Avenue and
Yeah,
Missouri,
Avenue.
Georgia.
Yes. There's a developer that is going to upgrade that gas station. It will still be the same size and manned by one person, but it won't be such an eyesore. The other possible good thing and benefit to this project could be a resolution to the traffic issue at that intersection because of the speeding and the number of people who try to cross that street to go to Walmart, etc. So I'm giving you this heads up so that you can be on the lookout for a presentation from the developers and the builders about what they're going to do and how that's going to impact all of us. And they are definitely open to your questions, and they will be around to the various SMDs to talk about all of the issues that surround that. The other thing in reference to 4D01, it has been a call and physical correspondence via email about the parks in that vicinity being mowed, and they're working on getting that done. I'm not sure if it's already been done since I last brought that up, but to let you know that there was an issue that has since then been resolved. So they're working on the parks in the city, I guess systematically. So I'm very happy that pretty soon we won't look like we're part of the jungle. the trash cans, receptacles, especially outside of the community center. The city ran out of trash cans, unfortunately. So we've kind of been on hold in reference to getting those requests answered. So for any of you who have been waiting for trash receptacles, etc., just be patient. They're working on that. But in terms of the rec center, I asked for a rush on that because it's so many people who come and go, and we don't want that neighborhood to turn into, trash in the street when people want to go in to participate in the myriad of wonderful activities and programs that they have there. Other than that, it's the regular problems, of course, rats. And I was happy to hear about 311 and surfing that. And hopefully we can put something on our website that will help people link to or get to that list so they can actively, it's our way of helping you help yourself. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioner updates?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, I was just gonna pass along to folks. I recently learned that Metro is there's this new program called Metro Lift, which is an income qualified reduced fare program for folks who qualify for SNAP. So if that sounds like someone you should check out WMATA.com/Metro Lift. It's a way for SNAP recipients and potentially others. I'm not an expert in this, but it is something that piqued my interest. WMATA.com/Metro Lift could potentially be a way for SNAP and other folks to get help with transportation, because mobility is independence. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner update from Commissioner Marensik?
Hello, just a brief update on our commission area. I am working with DDOT and the mayor's office to try and get a walkthrough of some of the neighborhood alleys, especially along Farragut, where folks try and use that as a cut through to avoid speed humps in the area. So I'll try to get that in early July. If anyone else has any kind of similar issues, please reach out and I'll try and get that on the same day or at the same time. Also, check your 311 requests. I put in a request on alley cleaning and it was closed without saying that it was resolved, but I haven't seen the alley clean. So if you're having anything similar, let me know. I'm going to reach out to them this week. That's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Judson.
Thank you. Yes, just a brief update as well. Just wanted to let folks know in my SMD, DC Water is putting in a permeable alley. It's between 5th and 7th Street. And then between Kennedy and Longfellow. And just if anyone has any concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help uplift your comments and concerns with DC Water. I have found it to be a pretty successful operation so far, but if you do have any concerns, please feel free to reach out and I'm happy to be of assistance. Thank you.
Commissioner Judson, I just experienced that as well in my neighborhood. And one thing I found I needed to do was, because we have to move our trash cans up outside of our homes, that the trash and recycling sometimes don't pick it up for 1 to 2 weeks. So to avoid that gap, I can, and I think I have, but I can provide you with the points of contacts for both of those agencies.
Thank you. Yes, that'd be helpful. The issue of trash has come up with a few constituents. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other commissioner updates? So we have one minor adjustment. So the agenda that Commissioner Lucarelli is sharing with us is actually the old agenda. There's actually an updated agenda on our website, which was the agenda that we voted on tonight. There's one new item of business or change. We're not voting on anything revolving the gas station, but we do have a proposal from Commissioner Morensic. So Commissioner Morensic, are you moving to introduce your motion?
Hello, yes, I'd love to introduce the, sorry, you caught me as I was checking the baby camera. Yes, the resolution that I spoke of early during the public safety regarding the recommending expenditure of highway education funds on automated traffic enforcement in school zones. So I'd love to put that motion forward.
Is there a second?
A second.
So moved.
The motion can then be considered for debate. So Commissioner Morensic, would you like to speak about your amendment or your motion rather?
Yes, just very briefly, you know, in our area, we have, I believe there are more than 4 school zones in the area of 4D. And even closer, if you're including Barnard, which is right here with us, and closer to the other area on Rock Creek Church Road, there are more schools. And the District Department of Transportation is currently preparing their Triennial Highway Safety Plan. It's submitted to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and we're trying to gear towards implementing behavioral changes to improve safety. Basically, what we want to do is encourage the authority to use the money from the traffic safety to support improvements to school zones. If you have been in the area of any of these school zones during pickup or drop off, you know that it can be very dangerous. Actually, just here across the street from my house at Barnard, was it last week, there was an issue with a driver who lost control of their vehicle and crashed into the fence. So we're urging that the District Department of Transportation include automated traffic enforcement cameras to sufficiently cover all school zones in DC under its application to the federal government. So that's what we're trying to get here to improve safety in these school zones. And I'm open for any debate.
The floor is open to any member or any commissioner to start with any questions or points that they would like to make. Commissioner George.
One point that I'd like to make, you all will recall that we previously passed a resolution in this commission concerning automated traffic enforcement. After the mayor's budget for this year redirected automated traffic enforcement revenue entirely into the general revenue pool. At the time, we passed a resolution calling for those funds to be redirected, excess revenue from automated traffic enforcement to be directed to safety improvements rather than general revenue for the city. We reiterate that call in this resolution, and we also know now from the budget that the council passed last year that the council has also insisted that going forward in future years, excess revenue from automated traffic enforcement efforts go into safety improvements rather than the general the city's general revenue, which is important to kind of reduce the incentive to use automated traffic enforcement as just like an ATM for the city, and make sure that the incentive is for improving safety rather than having a program that feels predatory to people.
Thank you. I appreciate you following up with that. That was one of my points I forgot to include. Thank you so much.
Other questions or comments from any commissioners?
I was going to share a picture of that crashed car at Barnard. It is a bit jarring. I was trying to put it in the chat real quick. I don't have permissions, but I can just hold my phone up. Like it cleared the sidewalk and went through a fence.
Yeah, if
Well,
you
go ahead. You should be able to share.
If you follow my Twitter, that was my photo. So I definitely took a picture of it.
Yeah, it still says I'm trying to just share it in the chat for people. It's just I just want to like just reiterate the nature of that, put it on the public record. Like that was absolutely terrifying. And it shows the one single consequence of what we're all witnessing at pickup and drop off on a daily basis. Like I have a you know, a pre-K 4 rising kindergartner at Barnard myself. It's pandemonium on Decatur Street every day. There's way too many cars going two directions. So there needs to be some kind of just complete redesign there to really slow things down and make it much more orderly.
So can I ask a question related to that? So Commissioner Messick, just so I understand correctly, your motion is not proposing that there's a traffic redesign of school zones. It's just more traffic cameras by school zones. I just want to make sure I understand correctly what we're proposing.
That's correct. As I understand it, that in all of there are hundreds of cameras that are being proposed, and I don't think any of them are set in school zones.
Got it. Thank you. Other questions from other commissioners or Commissioner Pinckney? You're muted, Commissioner.
My question is, well, I thought maybe I just haven't been working for the school system in a while, but I thought when it came to traffic in the school zone, coming and going to school was also determined by the school, which means they were clear about which way you come in, which way you go out, etc. Have the cones and everything up in order to keep those types of issues from actually hitting the children and the parents and anyone else as they go and come from school. So I just want to be clear, the cameras that will show what's going on, is this just one part of the effort to solve the problem? Because from what I gathered from you guys also, people don't pay their tickets when they get caught on camera as it is. So how is the camera really going to safeguard the children and the parents without also including or incorporating some funding for the schools or for another entity to ensure that the school zones get clear direction for getting to school and getting away from school? That's my question.
Well, this resolution that we're talking about doesn't specifically speak to the school's traffic plan for pickup and drop off. What we're saying is that the district is requesting these 170 cameras that they're planning, and none of them, they've indicated that none of them are going to be put into school zones. So what we're trying to urge them is to place these automatic traffic enforcement cameras to sufficiently cover all of the zones in DC. So that's just another step. We can debate the efficiency of speed and traffic enforcement cameras another time, but this is just to urge that for all these 170 cameras you're planning to put in, they should cover the entire school zones of the District of Columbia, especially here in our own backyard.
Okay, I agree. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Weigel.
Joy, you raised a really good point about who is in charge of those traffic plans. Like principals and school admin did used to have a lot more power. DGS is really the overriding body for that. And so Department of General Services, they're over every building that's Department of Government, I mean, DC government property. So police stations, fire departments, schools, the rec centers. They're the ones that need to do the study and to make the renovations and to budget for it. But the DC officials are the ones that first alert them for it, but it's DGS and DDOT that need to get together and fix that. Because it's DDOT up until the sidewalk, and as soon as it's on the sidewalk on school property, it's DGS's. And there's like specific to Barnard, but in general, just like some way of making sure that it's only one way, you know, in front of every elementary school. A lot of the schools have a pretty good setup with that already. You know, separating buses from private vehicles can be a really big help. And so
Mhm.
a separate bus zone on one side of the school and then having that pick up and drop off for private vehicles is somewhere else. And then having like the school having personnel, like at Barnard, we just have our PTA president, Siobhan. She's always out there screaming at cars. If she wasn't there, we would have multiple incidents. And so having people in the vests, waving them around, like we have the traffic crossing officials at a lot of our intersections for safe passage, but it's really like right there at the moment when kids are disembarking and getting into cars, that's when it's super dangerous. Because you don't have it using crosswalk, you don't have fully developed brains making fully rational decisions. You know, you got everything going on there. Very, very hectic. And they could do a lot design wise to make things safer. Yeah, I'll stop there for the sake of time.
So the reason I'm really bringing this up is, you know, I really like the resolution, but if we're going to make a recommendation, we should recommend that not only the money be used for cameras at all of the school zones, but additional funds go toward the facilitating better traffic patterns, which, you know, at the schools as well during drop off and pickup times. Because, you know, they can get another crossing guard or somebody else under that agency you mentioned. But I just think our resolution should be a little more inclusive of thinking about that piece, because still just cameras without also having the funds to help the schools help themselves, you know, still not going to stop that person from driving off and running into something again. So that was just my thought.
Commissioner Pinckney, just so I understand, are you proposing to amend the motion or to table the motion, or are you just throwing this out there for consideration?
I'm just throwing this out there for consideration. I don't know that we need to change this resolution, but we definitely could, or maybe they could write another one that could be like an addendum or whatever, or separate and on its own about the city including some safety mechanism to help the schools to be successful when the children are coming to school and getting home. That's all.
That sounds like you just volunteered to help our subcommittee, so I love that.
What if we ask principals at surrounding schools to sign along with us?
Yeah, that sounds
If
good,
we
because they
included-
would
if we
know
included
more
the leadership,
than we
yeah,
do.
Right. So that then they
Yeah.
have that document too to harken back on, right?
Right.
Like, we're waiting on this. We know it's an issue. We as a neighborhood identify it. Right.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, yeah, but I'm ready to vote on it now, but I just, you know, I'm always looking for things that's going to actually touch our community. You know, having those cameras up there, okay, that's well and good, but that still doesn't touch the community, not really. And so
Let me specify, I'm saying Joy's ideas about the new ones. Stevens is great. Let's just leave it how it is.
yeah, we'll just write a new one. I mean, a different one.
Commissioner George, I see you've had your hand raised for a while.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify on this program specifically, the types of grants that the federal government gives out under the program that the resolution is about are very narrow. So that's why it's focused here on cameras, because they're not handing out money for like speed bumps or school safety plans. If they did, I think we would encourage DC to apply for that funding too. And fortunately, I think Council Member Louis George's office noted, Ms. Rogers, when she was here, the additional funding in the budget this year for the Safe Routes to School program, which I think is exactly the type of thing that you and Commissioner Weigel were talking about, where it is funding and resources for schools to really develop traffic safety plans for their surrounding area and the blocks around them, and work with DDOT to prioritize safety improvements that what would come in the form of just like making the streets safer, making the crosswalks and sidewalks safer, things like that. But I'm fully in support of every intervention that we can possibly do to make our streets safer. This resolution was just focused on the cameras because of the grant program specifically that it's targeting it from the federal government.
Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Is there any feedback from the general public about this motion that they'd like us to think about as we vote? Comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Gooding-Jones.
I'm just saying, as long as you're thinking about the children, like I said, I have 3 that walk to Paul every day. And one thing that Paul did, they made it one way, because when it was 2-way, it was very dangerous for the children. My biggest thing is whatever you all are doing, as long as it's about the children. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, are we ready to call the motion? I need somebody to say yes, and then somebody.
Yes.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, we're ready to call the motion. And we will take votes. So I'll just call the commissioners in the order in which you appear on my screen. So just to clarify, the vote is for the motion as proposed by Commissioner Morensic. So please say aye or nay. Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel.
Aye.
Commissioner Judson.
Aye.
Commissioner Morensic.
Aye.
Commissioner Lucarelli.
So moved.
And Commissioner Corniotis.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, so the motion carries unanimously. And I believe that brings us to the end of our meeting agenda, if I am correct. If there is no other business before the commission tonight, does anyone, Ms. Gooding-Jones has a question first.
Yes. In listening to what you were saying about going to hybrid, I hope you think about us senior citizens. The reason why I'm on this is because of Zoom. We've been on this since COVID started, and when the other commissioners started this, and it made a difference for us because we were not a part of it. We're senior citizens, we're raising 3 kids, and leaving our street, when we come back, there is no parking. I'm right around the corner from Kennedy Street, 5th and Kennedy. So I hope, like we're doing at my church, we come to church, but we still do Zoom. I hope you all think about it, for those of us who are taxpayers, that you could do both, or there's a way that we can participate, because a lot of us can't do hybrid. And we're in a new age now. I mean, a lot of us, I work from home 3 days a week and I go to work. I mean, go to work 3 days a week and I work from home too. And that's something that's not going to change. So I just hope, you young people, yeah, you all can make those hybrid meetings. But for those of us who are seniors, we can't do it, but we want to participate. So I just hope that you all take that into consideration. I've been on Jefferson Street for 51 years. So I've been here for a very long time and I want to be a part, but I can't be a part of it if I can't be there. And as you can see, I do weigh in on things. I've been doing that since we started this. So please, when you all talk about it, think about those of us who can't be at the hybrid meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gooding-Jones, and we appreciate you being here and the point that you're raising. Just a couple of points so that all of you know. By law, ANC meetings are supposed to be held in person in public. That was temporarily suspended during COVID, It's been a little unclear to us about what the actual requirement is going to be once that emergency legislation expires. So we're not exactly sure what that will mean for us. We're hoping by hybrid, what I mean is we're hoping to have a combination where we will be able to have people present, but also have people be able to dial in just like you're doing tonight. So we're very aware that there are some people, some members of the community who want to be in person to see us. And there are other members of the community like yourself who are not able to do so and want to participate from home. And so we're trying our best to figure out a way to let everybody participate. So what we're hoping to do is have the meetings in person at Latin Charter, but also have an ability for people to call in or dial in just as you're doing tonight and still participate. So please be patient with us as we work out the details, but that's our goal and our hope is to be able to enable both of those things to happen.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I also know that sometimes you can lobby to change some laws. And maybe if it's enough of us, we can possibly do that. Enough of us senior citizens that want to be a part, and they'll see that we want to. So yeah, but I appreciate you, telling me that. I'm just concerned because I want to be a part.
Of course, and we want you to be a part as well. So we'll do our best to figure out how to make that happen. Commissioner Pinckney, you had something you wanted to add?
Yes, I wanted to tell the young lady that I am a senior citizen as well, so she is not forgotten at all.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so with no other business before the commission this evening, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the evening.
Can I have a second?
Pinckney second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the meeting is officially adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone, and we will see you all in July. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you. You
Have
too.
a good 4th,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.